Big thanks go out to Tywa for supporting today's video via Patreon. Alright, forgot to hit the record button, but we're only on turn 2. This player starts, went for a Talisman of Progress. We have cast Serum Visions on turn 1, scrying 2 lands onto the top, one of which we've drawn, and played an Is It Signet. And then Avacyn has gone for Wayfarer's Bauble, played and cracked. And we're just playing through at friend of the channel D-Manny's turn now. And playing the first spell, which is Knight of Cliffhaven. And now seeing Naam Shai Morad, when it deals combat damage to a player, you can have that player return a permanent from graveyard to hand. If you do, that player chooses a permanent in your graveyard, but it goes onto the battlefield. Okay, so know that we're drawing into a land here, that is the Scalding Tarn, so I think I want the Lightning Greaves in play before we go for the Wavebreak Hippocamp. Although if we get down a land here, we've got 5 mana next turn for Lightning Greaves, play and equip, and then a Frantic Search during our opponent's turn. And that will draw us a card with this, so yeah, maybe it's worth going for that actually. And then do we want a tap land with the Scalding Tarn? I think we can hold on to the Ponder for a while, it shouldn't be too hard to cast that at some point. So we'll go for the Surveil land and see if there's anything on top that we want to get rid of. Okay, it is a mountain, so yeah, I think we're going to get into a mountain off a Frantic Search or some kind of land off that, so let's put that in the bin. Try and get into something a bit more special than that. Still seeing the Scry lands being played after the Surveil lands have been printed apparently. And then it sees the spoils, so discarding to that, a Kazul's Fury. Getting a treasure into play and ending the turn with 6 cards in hand. And now seeing Ludevic, Necro Alchemist, the first commander to hit play. And the Knight of Cliffhaven is just a 2-2 vanilla at the moment, going in at the Archangel Avacyn. Now I'm turning in sideways at the Boros player as well, and giving them the option to take the Wayfarer's Bauble back seemingly, which will give him back the fetch here. Nice means of ramping with the Orzhov card here. So it does get that back into play and sacrifices it. And we see Inquisitorial Rosette, and that is then equipped to the rogues. So whenever the equipped creature attacks, create a 2-2 warrior with vigilance, and attacking creatures gain menace until the end of the turn. That's quite good. And we've managed to keep hold of the Wavebreak Hippocamp. The Ludevic triggering at the end step. Okay, drawing into Seagate Restoration will be handy later on if we get our commander into play, so yeah, let's go for the island before we get our commander in. And we could go for Frantic Search on this turn to untap the lands, then we can go for Ponder as well, but I'd rather get some actual card advantage and do it on an opponent's turn with this. So let's go for the Lightning Greaves. And I'm happy for them to put more lands in our hand by swinging this in at us, so yeah, let's turn in sideways here just for the sake of drawing a card with Ludevic. So triggering that again at the end step. And we will say yes, see what we draw into. It is Mystic Sanctuary. I think we need 3 islands with this. Yeah, 3 islands, so we need to get another one into play before we play that preferably. A Boros Signet now, so may well get down the Bauble and crack it again. No, instead, getting down a Brash Taunter. Plenty of white and blue players in play, so should be easy to exile or bounce that around. Level up on the Knight of Cliffhaven, gonna make it a 2-3 flyer. And does manage to get down a land on turn 4. Thanks for us tapping out. The 2-3 could have swung in towards us anyway, so don't feel too bad about doing that. I think it's worth the card draw from the commander. Reconnaissance mission from the Esper player. Going to be able to draw cards upon hitting in combat. So could go in either myself or the partner player. We attacked him last turn, so he likely comes in at us in response. And yep. So the Rosette will trigger, making a token, enter with vigilance and attacking, and that goes in at Ludevic, who can just block it really easily. That might as well have come in at us, I suppose. Shame that we can't make use of the untapped mana here, or maybe we will be able to after the Frantic Search is resolved, but it's worth doing it for the extra card draw from the Hippocamp, I think. A Mizzix's Mastery. Want something like Seagate Restoration's gone into the bin will be really good. Alright, so there we see another land ready for the Mystic Sanctuary. Unexpected Windfall. Yeah, I think it has to be the Ponder and the Mystic Sanctuary, unfortunately, because I'm very much liking what's in our hand there. So the token came in attacking the middle player here, And the creatures do have vigilance, so couldn't block. Reconnaissance mission triggers twice thanks to the creatures dealing damage, and Mayhem Shy is going to give us back a Mystic Sanctuary in order to get back the fetch land again. So doing some nice ramping with that fetch land and the Orzhov creature here. And then Ludevic giving another card draw, ending the turn with 3 cards in hand. And are we going to be able to get through some counter magic over here? Discarded to hand size a Belisarius Call, whatever the hell that is. Alright, a Shark Typhoon for us. So if we want to go for our commander, we could get down the commander and then go for Unexpected Windfall on someone else's turn. And that means that we're actually making use of the commander once it hits, unlike now. So maybe we do just carry on setting up and go for the Shark Typhoon here. And if it gets countered, then so be it. Alright, that came down pretty quickly, so we'll just hold back here. Can't get through anywhere anyway, so can't take advantage of the card draw. Needletooth Raptor now. Whenever it is dealt damage, it deals 5 damage to a target creature an opponent controls, so could point this at it for 3 mana. They do have the 3 mana held up, so Lightning Greaves is going to be particularly useful. We've got a 6/6 commander at the moment, so that should be able to dodge the 5 damage from this in response to a Lightning Greaves. Arwen Mortal Queen coming into play for the partner player, and the 2/3 flyer going into the right now. This has ended up in the bin as well, a Hedron Field Purists. I'm guessing that that was discarded to hand size at some point. And just before the end of the turn, seeing another level creature, Kazandu Tuskcaller, so once it's at level 2 to 6, it can make 1 or 2 elephant tokens for a tap. A Commander Sphere for the Esper player, and then a Knight Paladin, so that is crew 1 on a 6/6 trample. When it enters the battlefield, 4 damage to each opponent, and then playing and cracking and evolving wilds as well. And again we get the Mayhem Shy Murad, and the tokens going in at the left, and then a token down the middle as well. All the creatures have Menace at the moment, and deciding on some double blocks here, so that is an Arwen and the Ludevic. Alright, so just dealing 2 damage to the Ludevic doesn't really matter, Arwen has Indestructible anyway. Alright, double blocks on one of the tokens here, so losing the 2/2 Menace Vigilance, but a couple of them get through. Not sure why there was no blocks here actually, so it's a couple of card draw from the enchantment. And we'll choose to give this guy an Evolving Wilds, whilst we are given a Scalding Tarn very kindly. Alright, let's see if we can land our commander comfortably here. There is a Pongify, so getting into plenty of instants and sorceries, as you would expect in a deck like this. It'd be good to put the Frantic Search back on top at some point, but can maybe do that next turn. Or actually, if we draw into it with this, we could play it during an opponent's turn. Yeah, so let's go for Mystic Sanctuary now. And we can put the Frantic Search on top of the library, simply to let us look at more cards. And we'll continue to get card advantage from the Hippocamp as well. So that is now on top of the library. We'll play our commander. Boros player is holding up priority. Oh, of course we've got... didn't think of that. Melek is weaker now. That's annoying. So we could go for the Pongify onto this in response at least. But yeah, that is a mistake. We could have held off on this. Yeah, should have held off on this, played the commander first, got the Lightning Greaves on there, turns out it doesn't matter anyway. But yeah, should have waited to play this so it wouldn't have debuffed the Melek. Like I said, it turned out alright in the end anyway, so we will pass the turn at that, I think, unless we want to swing in with Melek for a card draw. I think we're best just holding back because we're taking quite consistent damage here. Alright, so going for the fight on the Brash Taunter. And Needletooth Raptor going to be dealt damage, which redirects 5 at someone else. Alright, so the Needletooth Raptor is going to deal 5 to this, meaning that we're not going to get that card advantage, unfortunately. Yeah, we'll just have to allow that, I think. Hopefully we can survive with our commander through to next turn so that we can cast this and have plenty of cards in hand. Be good to go for the Chandra's Ignition as well, although it is noteworthy that this thing is going to deal a chunk to us if we do that. A Dark Steel Plate should be replaced with the Mithril Coat in today's game, I would imagine. That is the Lord of the Rings card that does cost 1 extra to equip, but it has flash and enters attached to something. So well worth the extra equip cost, I think. Alright, and there's Dark Steel Plate going onto that. That's not something that we want to be dealing with, I don't think so. Let's go for the unexpected windfall here and see what we can do about it. I think we can just try and discard a Scalding Tarn. And there we see the Shark Typhoon trigger for the first time. That will get us a 4/4 in the air. Alright, gets us into a Vandal Blast and a Frantic Search. So the Frantic Search is only going to cost us 1, which means we can afford a Pongify here onto this thing, and that will land us another Shark Typhoon token. And it may well be that we force our opponent, or encourage our opponent, to go for the Brash Taunter tap, so that he can deal 5 damage straight to us, but that would mean that he's tapped out on mana and is wide open for attacks as well. Now we don't have any instants that we can cast at the moment, but may well draw into them with the Frantic Search. Don't know if I want to bother going for the Vandal Blast, might have to discard that, but instead deciding on the Wayfarer's Bauble, gonna play and crack that for an extra mana, 2 cards in hand over here. Leveling up on the Tuskcaller, level 1 doesn't do anything unfortunately, so it'll have to be level 2 before it starts making elephants. Return a permanent from graveyard to hand and then proliferate, going after a land, and obviously that will level up the level creatures further, as well as another indestructible counter onto Arwyn. So it seems like a fun counters deck that D-Manny has made here. Then playing and cracking the Misty Rainforest again straight away. And then the 2/3 goes in at the right and can't be blocked at this point. And Ludevic is going to draw him a card because he dealt some damage here. So I'll go for the Frantic Search now because we only get a discount once per turn, and we do get to draw the cards before we discard 2, so probably Vandal Blast and something else I imagine. Get another 3/3 Shark as well. I'm only doing this now because we might be able to cast something at instant speed during this player's turn, and we want the discount on that of course. Alright, gets us into a Wheel of Fortune, which isn't terrible, so I'm hoping that we'll draw into lands off this. Probably will. So it can be land and Vandal Blast goes down. Now Shy still in play and is turning in towards the Brash Taunter. Is going to gain Menace. And we've got 1 token coming in at us, 2 tokens coming in at us, so are they going to be able to put Death Touch on something? I think I'll double block one of them with the Sharks, and then I'm not going to risk losing the commander here. We'll just take 2 damage. So it may well be that this player's given a Needletooth Raptor again. Need to see the back of the Brash Taunter if we can. So a couple of hits with the Reconnaissance mission means draw 2. And the Orzhov creature is going to trigger yet again. And yeah, he's pointed at the Needletooth Raptor. Okay, and the Boros player gave him a creature for whatever reason. I think he had access to, could have given him an Evolving Wilds, but it is Inquisitor Eisenhorn that has been given to him for free into play. And there is chatting going on here, so maybe there was a deal struck. I will just fast forward through the chat because I know some of you like to read through this. And the Commander Sphere being, I assume, tapped for mana before being sacrificed for a card draw. Exterminatus is destroy all non-land permanents. Non-land permanents your opponents control lose indestructible until the end of the turn, so that actually gets rid of this, which I don't mind. Unfortunately, it removes our commander, but there we are. So the Bauble is being cracked in response, and discarding that land previously might hurt us here. I suppose we could go for playing this as a land still and just go straight in for our commander, but then we're reliant on the Wheel of Fortune. I've got a couple of players that have full hands already, so might not be the worst thing. Are we going to put an indestructible counter onto the Knight of Cliffhaven? Or give it indestructible until the end of the turn. It gets a plus and lifelink counter, not an indestructible one. So everything getting wiped out there. 9 cards in hand and 4 mana still left up for the Esper player. And goes in for the Golden Throne. If you would lose the game, exile this and your life total becomes 1. You can tap, sack a creature, 3 mana in any combination of colours. And then discarding a command tower hand size, so through to our turn. Alright, and there is a Lauren revealed, so more card draw for only 2 mana, as long as our commander's in place, so we'll have to give up on the Seagate Restoration, I think, unfortunately. Bolt that into place so that we can get our commander back out and await the spot removal. Fiendish Duo, if a source would deal damage to an opponent, it deals double the damage instead. Followed by a Faithless Looting, so just draw 2, discard 2. So discarded with that a basic, as well as a Coal Hauler Swine. When that's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to each player, yeah, so you get the type of tactics they're going after here. Really good to see the back of the Brash Taunter, if that was the tactics our opponent was going after. Pure Imaginative Rascal likely has Toothy in the 99, so could fetch it here and maybe play it as well. And now seeing Tamiyo Field Researcher comes out after the Pierce, so not going after the Toothy apparently. This is choose up to 2 target non-land permanents. They don't untap during the controller's untap step, so we do get to keep our commander. Did not search out a Toothy with Pierre either, so we'll assume that it's either in hand already or not in the deck. Be really great to keep our commander in play for obvious reasons. I'm thinking it's Chandra's Ignition for 2 mana next turn, and then maybe just hardcast this for some card draw, and then we can get rid of the Tamiyo, I hope. Alright, squad has been paid 3 times on this, so this player's tapped out. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, a 3-2 with flying, so we'll wipe those out quite easily. So surprisingly, managing to survive with our Planeswalker intact. There's a Reliquary Tower, so I think we definitely get down the Reliquary Tower here. And we're going to have to hold off on Mizzix's Mastery, I think. Wouldn't be the worst thing to go for Chandra's Ignition again next turn off the back of Mizzix's Mastery. So let's try that here. And that's only going to cost 2, because the first instant or sorcery costs 3 less during every turn. So that is the first one, of course. And if there's a swords over here, that's fine, but wait for us to wipe everything out first, maybe, so that we can deal with this. And allowing everything to go down, so we'll go for the Lauren Revealed now, seeing as how we don't have any instants to play during an opponent's turn. And that puts us on 16, so we can take someone out here. Who do we take out? Is it wise to leave? Yeah, you get an Omniscience is the problem. I would leave D-Manny alone if it wasn't for this, because I would rather get rid of this guy, to be honest. Although he seems to be playing a little bit of a souped up pre-con deck, so should hopefully be alright. We'll go after D-Manny, I think we have to. Didn't really draw into anything relevant there. We cleared some mana off the top at least. So we'll get rid of the Omniscience that is looming next turn, and see what the Boros player with will have 3 cards in hand next turn can do to us. But I'm hoping we'll be able to go for Mizzix's Mastery next turn. And if it only costs us 5 mana, then that'd be great. So down he goes. It's off to Avacyn's turn. Mimic that into play, so he's looking to get rid of the commander and put it under there maybe, unless he just seriously has nothing else to do. Haven't seen the commander yet, I don't think. Phyrexian Vindicator. If it would be dealt damage, prevent the damage, and damage prevented this way is dealt to any other target. So we want to be destroying this with something like a Pongify, which we should be able to do off the Mizzix's Mastery next turn. Seeing a miracle card off the top, that is a Sister Repentia. So that is, when it dies, you gain 2 and draw 2 on a 5-1. Not terrible for only 2 mana. 5 life, 5 cards in hand, plenty of mana thanks to that Orzhov creature that kept ramping him though. And that is a Primaris Eliminator. Destroy a creature when it enters, no prizes for guessing. So that goes after our commander, and we will put it back in the command zone. Inquisitor Greyfax coming into play, is that for the first time? So we've got a 4-2 and a 6-1 that we're facing down. Be a nice chunk of damage next turn. And the Chandra's Ignition isn't all that useful anymore with no creatures in play. Alright, a Niv-Mizzet Perun is very tempting. But I think we have to wait on that until after a Mizzix's Mastery. What can we do here? We can blow up one creature with a Pongify, which probably has to be this, because a lot of our removal is going to be damage based. And then it's remove some things, draw a bunch, basically. So we'll play an island, because I think life's going to be pretty sketchy during this next few turns. We can get down the Arcane Signet, I think. That'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this does cost 8 to overload. So get down the Signet. And now let's overload a Mizzix's Mastery and see how much of a headache we can create for our opponents. Right, so we can put Frantic Search on the stack first so that we've got more things to discard to it. Then we want to Vandal Blast on this probably. I think we can beat this guy twice, I hope. Especially with something like Niv-Mizzet, so we'll go after the Mimic Vat and then the Pongify. So Pongify onto that, then Vandal Blast will resolve first. And then we'll go for all the card draw stuff, so Unexpectedly Absent, discard the Steam Vents to that, then the Laurium Revealed, and then does it matter between Serum Visions. We'll go for Serum Visions, then we can maybe shuffle with the Ponder if we don't like any of the 3 cards on top. Alright, so it may well be that our opponent can still take us out or get pretty close next turn, but we'll see what we can do here. We are going to untap some lands at least, and we'll do it with some extra mana from the Unexpected Windfall as well. Okay, there is a Spell Swindle for some more tokens. I think we'll take the shuffle on this, to be honest. A Spell Swindle not as good if you can't keep your commander in place, so yes on the shuffle. Drawing 2 Myriad Landscape. So glad to take the scry here, I think. We draw first, and that is Intrude on the Mind, and then it's more lands, or more mana even, so bottom and bottom, ready to draw 3 from the revealed. Okay, Archmage Emeritus, another cantrip in Preordain, and pretty useless without our commander. Alright, there's an Unwind, so should be able to counter some stuff if we're desperate to. Vandal Blast blows up the Mimic Vat. Pongify blows up the white creature, replaces it with a 3/3 Ape, and then Frantic Search will draw 2, discard 2, so there is a Third Path Iconoclast. So I'll get rid of Myriad Landscape and the other tap land, then we'll untap 3 jewels. And then I think Third Path Iconoclast should be fine, then we can hold up the Unwind, and yeah, there's nothing else we can do, but we can get chump blockers in the way at least this way, so let's do that. How big's our commander now, out of curiosity? Yeah, back down to a 2/2 thanks to exiling the graveyard pretty much, but we've got plenty of instants and sorceries available to us now, ready to load it up again. Wasn't sure if to include Mizzix's Mastery, because it is a little bit of a nombo with the commander, but we're not really looking to buff our commander up enough to make it relevant in the red zone. There might be a means of giving it double strike in here, I'm not sure, but we'd have to make it unblockable and give it double strike really, and I thought it was best to just go for a typical Spell Slinger strategy. Faithless Looting being flashed back, and the 3/3 comes in towards us as you would expect. Marsh Flats being played and cracked. Only 1 card in Avacyn's hand left. Doesn't seem all that eager to play out the commander for whatever reason. So does have a trick up his sleeve, you would assume. Now going through to combat. So not allowing us to cast an Unwind for a chump blocker. But I was considering holding up the tokens anyway. Especially if we're looking at going for Niv Mizzet. Want to maximise the number of spells that we can cast into this thing. So maybe giving up on this would be alright. I assume all of this is coming in at us. No. We're taking a hit for 6 and 10, taking us down to 9, and then the 3/3 goes in over there. Against my better judgment, I think I'm actually going to take this, because I think it's going to be invaluable to get a bunch of tokens into play in the form of blockers. 4 cards in Greyfax's hand. Looks like he's looking to tap something down. Could have done that before combat, but decides to do it now, so was maybe looking for something to be destroyed here so we could reanimate it. I'm not sure what's in that precon, to be honest. We're about to untap this anyway during our turn, but he does get a clue token, so that's why he did it, in order to draw a card. And sacrificing the Orzhov creature as part of the cost, meaning he'll gain 2 and draw 2. And then sacrificing with this the Orzhov creature, Sister Repentia, so he gets Orzhov mana, gains 2, draws 2. And that gaining 2 might be relevant because we are about to get an uncounterable Niv Mizzet into play and may well have been able to ping him out. 7 cards in hand. A Primaris Chaplain now has Battlecry, a 3/3 when it attacks, gains indestructible until the end of the turn, that's not too scary. And then deploy to the front, create X 1/1 soldier tokens where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield, so that is 5 at the moment. Is that worth countering? Can start to go wide, and obviously there's buffs on them as well. Can we get rid of this player next turn? We've got 7 mana. We could risk just going for a Wheel of Fortune onto the Niv Mizzet and draw a bunch. It refills the Orzhov or the Boros player's hand, unfortunately. Yeah, we'll hold on to the counterspell in case they can do something about, or either player can do something about the Wheel of Fortune. So 5/2/1s entering play. And we survive another round, so we're able to get on with our turn. That is a Brass's Bounty. Not sure we're going to be able to go for that. We'll try to, though. So get out some more red mana. First thing is to get out the Niv Mizzet Perun. And we can just about afford the Brass's Bounty. The problem is, it'd be really, really good if we managed to if we manage to actually land that, but I'm not positive that we'll be able to get through this. So why don't we go preordain first? So why don't we just go preordain, make as many third path iconoclast tokens as possible. And we will draw cards doing this with the Niv-Mizzet Parun as well, which means even more pings. That is a deflecting swat. We might not even need to go for the wheel at this point. Go after the Esper player. And priority is being held up by the Orzhov player, so I might have some means of removal. Alright, there's a Windfall. I wouldn't say no to a Bribery either. 75 cards left in Avacyn's deck. Let's put Windfall on top is fine. And Bribery we will draw into, which is another ping on our opponent. Yeah, I was thinking we're not going to go for the wheel here, to be honest, otherwise I wouldn't have bothered with the Bribery, but there's means of fishing it out of the bin anyway. I think it's too risky to leave the Esper player around. It's risky to give the Boros player a full hand as well, but I think that's what we're going to do here. And if we can get into some counter magic, that would be great as well. So we will attempt a Wheel of Fortune. Upon casting the Wheel of Fortune, we get a token, then draw with Niv-Mizzet Parun first, which is the Windfall. So yeah, sequence this, the last part of this turn, a bit weird, but hopefully it won't matter too much. Just praying that we get into some more means of protection. We're getting rid of Deflecting Swat and the Unwind, but it's for the sake of getting rid of this player, so I'm fine with that. And this might encourage the last card out of his hand. If it's removal, we can still go for the... oh wow, that's a way worse hand. Yeah, we could have gone Deflecting Swat or Unwind in response to any removal that he might have had. Anyway, Lightning Bolt this player out of the game. And then is it worth going for the Ape over the life total? Might be that you can get a big damage equipment on there or something. Like protection from Is It or something like that. I'm going to play it safe and get rid of the Ape. Yeah, so we've just ditched an incredibly good hand for the sake of pretty much nothing here. Could get down our commander again though and go for the Rogue's Passage. That's going to take a few turns to set up, but hopefully the Boros player won't go too nuts. Playing is Archangel Avacyn with Flash. We've got a 5/5 in the way of that. I thought our opponent might be dissuaded from playing the commander just for the sake of protecting an Ape, especially if he drew into some better cards, but yeah, apparently not. Whoa, hang on, and did I not put enough damage over here? That's very annoying if I didn't. I'm sure I put 3 damage over here. Okay, I'll have to check the replay during the editing process. Might as well get a Sol Ring out here so that we don't have to do it next turn. And that will get us another token into play in order to do some chump blocks. Alright, so we've kept a player in play apparently and just refilled the hand, so hopefully that doesn't burn us. Oh, of course, the throne has saved our opponent there. Totally forgot about that. Yeah, we mentioned that previously, and yeah, what I should have done is pointed more damage over here to have this player lose on the stack, so could have dealt the lightning bolt or whatever it was. This goes down and then the other damage resolves and gets rid of him. Yeah, that's what's thrown me there. And I dare say it might be a deal between the Boros and Esper player to take me out. Now it's a Rip Apart going on to the Sol Ring. I don't mind that because we've got plenty of mana and we get to draw a card here, so that is going to be the end of the Esper player. Fine with me. All is well in the world after my error there. That was a big mistake, but managed to dodge the outcome there. Because it could have been that they go wide on us, I imagine. Unbelievably, just drawing into a land again off the Niv-Mizzet. See how big the commander is now. Yeah, it's back up to an 18/18 after we got rid of everything from the graveyard, so how much will this be now? 9 mana, I think. So hopefully we can go 9 mana and hold up the 3 mana for this. And then just swing in with a Rogue's Passage next turn. That should be alright. Rolling Earthquake, 3 damage to each creature without horsemanship and each player, so that's a lightning bolt on us. And how was this worded? Each creature without horsemanship, so that includes the Avacyn, so we'll just deal the damage to that. This means that all the creatures apart from Niv-Mizzet are going to get taken out. Niv-Mizzet Parun doing work as it always does, and we've drawn into a Desertion there as well. So Archangel Avacyn goes back into the command zone. 4 mana left up, 5 cards in hand. We're at 6 life. It might be our opponent can bolt us out of the game here. But no, just decides to concede it, so didn't get to see Melek come back into play, unfortunately. Let's see what we were drawing into. Just another land, so Yeah, the plan was there to get down Melek and hold up a 3-mana Sublime Epiphany, which would have drawn us a couple of cards as well. Got us into Narset and another land in Otawara, so could maybe have had that in play, but probably just holding this up for hopefully during our turn we can dodge any kind of spot removal and hit our opponent out of the game with a massive Melek and some commander damage. Anyway, I made a couple of sketchy plays in the end there, but managed to cobble together a victory, so hopefully you all enjoyed this visit to Melek Reforged Researcher. Big thank you to the patrons for their financial support of the channel, and I will see you all in the next one, I hope. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.